and welcome back to the Fallon Frequency Podcast, your go-to space for alignment, expansion, and that unstoppable energy. I am your host and mindset mentor, Fallon, and I am so excited to have you here. This is really, where I share my insights, a bit of my story, and really most importantly, my energy and frequency with you all. So you can tap back into your own power, step fully into alignment, and have that beautiful overflow of epic energy. So before we really dive into episode 2, which is all about living unapologetically and designing a non-traditional life, I'm going to take you back a little bit, just to last week when I actually first started this podcast. I'm in this beautiful phase right now where I'm all about being unapologetically me. And that version of me is a bit messy and loud and fun. And when I started this podcast, I did not have all those fancy tools or perfect setup. I had no freaking idea what I was doing. And I just knew that it was time for me to get my voice out there. So I kind of hit the record, did some YouTube videos, let it flow. And even though the sound wasn't as crisp as I would have liked, I didn't really care at the time because I was trusting the process. I was trusting myself. I was starting messy, knowing that I would improve with time and it would only get better. And of course, guess what happened? My voice got out there as I wanted it to. And I had some lovely friends reach out who kind of gave me some little tips and tricks as to why things didn't really sound right and how important it was to refine that. So if you've listened to that first episode, you might have noticed it was a little less polished. But that's because I wasn't, waiting for that perfection. I was really way too focused on sharing my words with you. But now that I have refined things a bit, the sound should sound much smoother. You're welcome. I hope it does. And the message that I'm getting out there is just as real and unapologetic as ever. So I thought there was really no way better, way to kick things off than with today's topic about being unapologetically you and why that might lead you down a non-traditional path, because that was just me being me fully. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So I want to talk about something that I know many of you feel deep in your bones, and that is the desire to break free from the conventional path and really create a life that aligns with your soul's purpose. Because let's be real, it's not just about escaping the 9-to-5. It's not about quitting your job, working from your laptop at the beach or in the mountains or doing van life, which is obviously a really great perk. It's really about something way deeper. It's about that alignment, that freedom, and truly trusting yourself. So even now, for a great example in what I'm doing, I am mentoring, I'm creating, and I'm expanding. And the other day I was having a conversation with my mom trying to explain, which I do many times, as to the work that I do. And she doesn't get it. She asks kind of the same questions every time. And you know what? That's okay, because she doesn't have to get it. I get it. You get it. And that's what matters. That right there, one of the biggest shifts we need to make when we are stepping into a life that doesn't fit into a neat little box is that the minute you stop seeking that validation from people who are never meant to fully understand your path, your free self, that's such a big shift. And I'm going to explain more in this episode. Society is constantly telling us what we should do, what is safe, what is realistic. But what is that? That, my friend, is conditioning. That is what stifles our creativity. It's really what keeps people stuck in lives that don't feel like their own. So, how are we supposed to tune into our soul's purpose when we're constantly afraid of what's around the corner? And that's what society is trying to do. You're not supposed to tap into it. That fear, that hesitation, that staying small is keeping you from stepping into that expansive, limitless life that I truly believe we're all actually meant to live. So the truth here, You may have heard this before, if mindset work and, universal laws and things like that aren't new to you, but your path is already laid out for you. You are, in fact, co-creating with something so much bigger than yourself, whether that be source, universe, God, whatever you want to call it. And that is the key to learning to trust yourself, but to trust that you're not in this alone, so you can lean into the unknown. You're not waiting for some permission, and you start listening to that deep inner knowing inside of you. It's huge. So in this episode, we are diving into exactly how to do that. How do we shake off the conditioning? How do we stop looking for approval from people who don't actually share our vision? And how to build a life that actually feels so freaking good. One that you're excited for a Monday. You are excited to wake up every single day to live this expansive, epic life that you've created for yourself. So I'm going to jump in and talk about breaking free and how we're going to ditch the conventional career path and trust our own vision. So talking about the path less traveled, one that doesn't come with a roadmap. There's no step-by-step plan on what you're meant to be doing. And it's something far more powerful that you're tuning into here. And what is that? That is your intuition. As you all know, conventional career paths were never my thing. I have gone from living in Panama, jumping on a yacht, to jumping into the wellness world in Australia, to being an entrepreneur and still in that entrepreneurial space. And you know what? That's okay if they are your thing, the conventional career path. That's totally okay. But what I'm saying here is we're all on our own unique journeys. And this episode is really going to be more for those people who feel that pull towards something more. For those of you who feel like you've kind of been following a script that was really never meant for you. Because trust me, I get it. Every kind of big change I've ever made, fear did creep in. Obviously, I also brought in limiting beliefs. I listened to, what society kind of puts on you and that whole follow this, what is it? Definitely before I left in the yachting career, it was like, in your 20s, what do? You get married, you have babies, you buy a house. If you don't hit this box at this time and tick this, it's just like, ugh, just even talking about it kind of. Anywho, so talking about that, yes, I've felt all the things, even though I've lived such an unconventional life. I was also terrified, but terrified and liberated at the same time. Instead of letting all of those fears scare me off, I've used them as fuel. I knew deep in my soul that fear was not a stop sign. Fear was not going to hold me back. It was actually, for me, proof that I was stepping into something so much bigger. Any huge decision I made, any really unrealistic, unimaginable, can't happen decision that I've made in my life, of course I had fear. It'd be weird if I didn't have fear. But the difference is I didn't let fear be too loud. And, let's talk about sometimes the fear is not even being our own, and how this is when I'm bringing in society is not making this any easier for us to follow this unconventional path, to listen to our truth, because there's this pressure to follow the right path, to be successful. But when we say be successful, it's by whose definition? Who is setting these guidelines? Who is telling you what successful is and isn't? It's praising this ladder, the corporate ladder, versus leaping into the unknown and discovering new things. It's pushing you into security over soul alignment. And it really just really gets me a little bit overexcited, drives me a little crazy. But what I'm trying to get at here is your soul does not care about the box. It doesn't like the box. It actually hates the box. It craves freedom. It craves expansion. It craves purpose. And the moment you stop seeking validation from other people who are never meant to understand your path, you're going to reclaim that power. You're going to reclaim your soul's power. So the real question, I'm sure you're wondering, is how the hell do we do that? And for me, it really starts by tuning into the laws that govern everything. whether we realize it or not. And that is the universal laws, because they are laws. And I'm not going to go into all of them in this episode. That would be a really long episode, but I will continue to tap into them throughout the episodes. But today I'm going to focus on the law of cause and effect. Okay, so I'm kind of just going to give it to you straight right up. You have already created the life you're living right now. Yes, I'm going to say that again. You have already created it. You have already created the life you are living right now. You're not stuck in some bad luck or some broken system. You're living the effects of past causes that have set you in motion. So this law of cause and effect in action, okay, it's stating here that every single action produces a reaction. Every choice, every thought, every belief is shaping your reality. And I know a few of you are probably thinking, wait a second, I'm not in a good situation. I didn't create this. But stick with me here. I'm not trying to give you a guilt trip, okay? I'm trying to empower you. It's basically, think of it this way. If your past decisions created your current reality, then guess what? Your present decisions are creating your future reality. Okay? How free is that? When you actually get it, when that clicks for you, you start to take ownership. And that's radical ownership. That is soul level. That is over everything in your life. Everything changes. If you're in a relationship you don't want to be in, that's from past decisions you've made. You can change that today. If you're in a job that you don't want to be in, you can change that today. So the law of cause and effect, it's really inviting you to stop outsourcing your power and start being more intentional with your energy that you're putting out there. The universe, it's neutral, okay? It's not judging you. It's 100% not punishing you. It's simply responding to your frequency. So if you think of it like this, okay, who you are is the cause, and the effect is the life you have. I'm going to rephrase that, sorry, so it makes more sense. Who you are is the cause. The life you're living is the effect. So if your current reality, like I said, is feeling a bit off, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've been operating from these old beliefs, these outdated patterns, and energy that's no longer aligned to your soul's vision. So the second that you do start showing up differently, you're going to be more joyful, more appreciative, more generous. That energy will ripple out there. It is a law. So, when you start to see the magic, the synchronicities, those aligned opportunities, people start showing up for you out of nowhere and supporting you. Because when you shift the cause, the effect has no choice but to change. I'm going to repeat that so it can sink in. When you shift the cause, the effect has no choice but to change. So if you're still with me, I'm going to bring this full circle, okay? Breaking free, living unapologetically to me is really about owning your own frequency. If you don't want to be on that normal path, if you feel like you've been living a scripted life that is not your own, and you want to build a life that's fulfilling and free and fully yours, there's a few check-ins that we can do to do that. Okay, so I want you to, one, write these down if you need to. Recognize external noise versus inner voice. Start questioning everything. Start questioning your beliefs. Is this belief mine or is it someone else's? Are these limitations mine? Are they someone else's? Are they echoes of what I've been told to believe? You've really got to start questioning even your own fears. Are these fears even mine or are they someone else's projection? Okay, number 2, I want you to embrace discomfort as growth. We all feel discomfort. That is the point. That is the point of growth. That is how we expand. It doesn't always feel good right away, expansion, but it's always going to lead you somewhere better. You're always going to learn a lesson. You're always going to end up in a different place. Feeling uneasy is a good sign. So it means that you're expanding. And the only real difference, okay, For those of us, not us, because if you're listening to this, you're not one of those people. The difference between those people who stay stuck and those who actually do create their dream life is the courage to take action despite the discomfort. It doesn't mean those people don't feel the discomfort. Successful people feel all the feels too, but they don't let them hold them back, okay? Number 3. Release the need for approval. Just as I mentioned my story, in the beginning about my mom not having any freaking idea of what I'm all about. It's a personal, success to me is personal. My life is my life. It is my unique journey. I'm designing my own version of my life. I don't need other people's approval. Success is not a one size fits all. It's your personal life. It is what feels right to you. The moment that you stop chasing this external validation and you really, really start trusting yourself, that's when that real freedom is going to begin. So, if you've been waiting for the permission slip to take that leap, consider this it. You are allowed to design a life that doesn't fit the mold. You are allowed to follow your gut and your intuition, even when no one else understands it. Because at the end of the day, it is your life. You're going to look back when you're 100 years old or 105, on your deathbed, and you don't want to look at your life thinking, what if? What if, I should have done that. I should have taken that chance. Should have moved to that country. Should have done that thing. Because you didn't listen. You let fear hold you back. And that is what we are not doing from here on out. So I'm going to layer this with a little cherry on top and talk a bit about energetics. Because as you know, everything is energy. Your energy, your frequency, that's going to be your direct line to the universe. It is the frequency that you're broadcasting at all times. It's going to speak so much louder than any of your words or intentions could. So when we're talking about being free, being unconventional, being unapologetically us, creating alignment, designing something that's non-traditional, and that actually lights us up, it is not just about mindset. It's the energy you embody as you move throughout your day. I want you to be more intentional with your thoughts. I want you to show up with aligned action. And I want you to trust. Trust every decision, every moment is planting a seed for your future. Okay, and that's going to swing it back to law of cause and effect. Everything that you're doing, who you are being, is the effect. Your life is the effect of who you're being. So if you want that effect to shift, start with a state of being. Your inner is creating your outer. The frequency creates the reality. You are the signal. And this is why I find it so important to be unapologetically you as much as you can, because you have a unique frequency that's going to guide you to your unique purpose here. And I feel like, okay, at least when I was kind of diving deep into this work, what got me not upset, I want to say, but being unapologetically me when you don't know who you're meant to be because you're so conditioned can kind of freak you out. So I'm going to leave you with a few principles for you to think about and play with over the week on how do we live unapologetically. Because sometimes, when we are so conditioned, like I said, it's really hard to recognize when we're being us or when we're being the somebody else's belief or conditioning or, what society wants us to be. So breaking it down with actual spiritual laws and energetic principles to support this way of living, because it is a way of being. I want you to live the most fullest possible life out there, because it'd be such a disservice to yourself not to. And it's what you give to the universe. It is a gift to be you. So principle, I don't know if I'll go through all of them. I'm going to give you a few principles if you want some more. Get into my DMs or get into my world. I don't want to keep you guys too long. But the principle number 1 I want to talk about is law of authenticity. So the more you are you, the more magnetic you become. The people, like I said just before, you're going to start to bring in things that are meant for you. Your truth is your superpower. it's not requiring you to mold into be anything that you're not. And it's going to feel so freaking natural to you to just be that thing. Do you know how freeing that is? It is so freeing to just be yourself in a society that does not want you to do that. And it's that energy of being unapologetically yourself, which I fully support. Principle 2, law of self-responsibility. Again, refer back to law of cause and effect. This is radical ownership. This is that, no one's coming to save you. You do create your reality. Your results are a reflection of what you believe you deserve and how willing you are to back yourself. So many people don't back themselves. So many people don't trust themselves. Living unapologetically requires you to take full responsibility for where you are. There are no waiting for things to happen. It's about choosing and creating what you want, because you, my friend, are the captain of your own ship. I am sure you've heard that before, but are you actually acting like the captain? You need to take self-responsibility. It's a huge part of living a very fulfilling life is being responsible, for everything that's going on in your life, okay? Thirdly, I want to talk about the law of expansion. As I mentioned, the more you expand, the more you stretch your capacity for abundance, joy, love, freedom, it's going to require you to get uncomfortable. Growth does not happen in your comfort zone. It's about embracing that discomfort, leaning into it, and pushing past those old limits, those old beliefs. And that expansion is where those incredible breakthroughs are going to happen. But that's not going to happen until you embrace that stretch of the unknown and the uncomfort. And I am going to, I'm going to leave you with those 3. I don't want to give you too much, but some final thoughts here. Living unapologetically is not about being reckless. It's not about being selfish or defiant just because. For me, it's about deep reverence for your life. It's really about listening to your inner wisdom above all the noise that's going out around you. It's about trusting that you get the permission slip for what's possible, that you are in charge. And maybe by doing that, you're going to inspire somebody else to do the same. Because, living non-traditional, living fully, living in your most authentic, awesome life, it's not reserved for the lucky few, It's not reserved for anybody. It's for those who are bold enough to take the responsibility and be themselves and choose it every single day. So I'm going to leave you with that, okay? How we live unapologetically, how we build a non-traditional life. Again, thank you so, so much for being here. This is episode 2 of the Fallon Frequency, hopefully a lot smoother for you all. If you like this work and more interested to jump into universal laws, go ahead and jump into my world. You can get me on Instagram at Fallon Michaela Co. I also have some awesome masterclasses deeper into this work, and I've got a few other awesome things in the work. So thank you for listening. I really, really appreciate having you here. Hope you learned, hope that dropped in for you and resonated. As always, I love hearing from you and love hearing your stories. If you felt like this was something that you want to continue on the journey with me and continue expanding together, please go ahead and subscribe. That helps get this podcast out to all the listeners that are meant to hear it. And looking forward to speaking to everybody next week. Bye.